Pre-season is done, now it's time to start counting down to the season proper. We've got all the reaction from the Bears' trip to Keighley at the weekend. This is the official Coventry Bears podcast. This is Bear Necessities. Yes, welcome to Bear Necessities, your official Coventry Bears podcast. You'll find us every week on Spotify, Apple Podcasts or at coventrybears.com. I'm one of your hosts, Dave Musson, and joining me as always is my co-pilot and former Bears fullback, Craig Cathcart. Craig, how are you doing?
Yes, I'm good, mate. Really good, thanks.
Coming up on the show this week, we'll reflect on an experimental Bears side's 68-10 defeat away to Keighley Cougars on Sunday, with another round of quickfire analysis, and we'll also hear the thoughts of Bears Director of Rugby, Alan Robinson. We'll also quickly look ahead to the upcoming draw for the third round of the Challenge Cup, which of course is where the Bears enter the fray. But first, a couple of bits of news for you. So number one, least important bit of news, but I'm proud, so I'm going to say it anyway. I'm very happy to say that I'm now the League One features columnist for the fabulous 4020 magazine. My first piece is in the new issue, which came out last week. So do check that out and do.
Congratulations, mate.
Thank you.
It's a really good read as well.
And a great magazine to be part of. If you've never picked up 4020, they're independent rugby league magazine. Lots of long reads, lots of really in-depth stuff. So very pleased to have been asked to be part of that family. So I'll be talking League One stuff all year, and we'll probably sneak in a few Bears references every now and then. And second, you'll remember that we gave a shout out to Sherwood Wolfhunt as they made it through to round 2 of the Challenge Cup. Well, the draw has been made and they've been given a draw at home to West Bowling, who are the Bradford club from the amateur game that has given us a bunch of great players over the years, most recently John Bateman, of course. And that match is going to be streamed on the Our League app this Sunday, kicking off at 1:30pm. Now, Craig, it was you sort of flagged the Sherwood Wolfhunt Cup progress last week, and what a draw for them, and the fact that they're on the Our League app as well. It's just great for the club, great for Midlands Rugby League as well, isn't it?
It's absolutely fantastic. I mean, they had 420 odd fans, I think, at the first game, and it's just gone bonkers over the last week and a half, I think, with the interest in what they've done and the progress that they've made. And they got another home draw, so it's going to be absolutely huge, absolutely massive. And I really, really do wish them luck. I would love to see them play the Bears in the next round.
Oh, it'd be fantastic.
That would be fantastic. But yeah, I saw that they've agreed to donate whatever they make on admissions on the gate to a fund for Rob Burrow as well, which is a really good, really generous thing for them to do as a club and a real good gesture. So I'm looking forward to watching them. The atmosphere at the first game apparently was electric, and it seems to me that rugby league's really taken off in that part of the country. I think they're based in Mansfield, aren't they, or near Mansfield? So it's great to see representation from the Midlands progressing in the Challenge Cup, and it's good for Sherwood, it's good for rugby league in general in the Midlands, and I'm really excited to see them play on Sunday.
Yeah, likewise. Best of luck to the Wolfhunt. And not only are they donating their proceeds to the Rob Burrow Fund, but they've also sold out of their hospitality offerings way in advance. So there's a real buzz about that game. I think it's going to be great, and hopefully the atmosphere will come across on the Our League stream as well for anyone who can't make it down in person. But best of luck to Sherwood, obviously to West Bowling as well, but we do have a Midlands bias here, and as you say, Craig, it'd be amazing to see them get through and then get drawn against the Bears. But we will talk more Challenge Cup later on in this episode. For now, let's shift our focus to last Sunday's trip to Keighley for a pre-season game against the Cougars. It was very much an experimental, reserve, trialist squad for the Bears, who were playing a pretty much full-strength Cougars side, and Bears ended up being fairly well beaten, final score of 68-10, with Bears tries coming from Zach Fellows and Leon Harbour. Craig and I will run through some quickfire analysis in a moment, but first, let's hear what Bears Director of Rugby Alan Robinson had to say when Craig caught up with him at Tag Rugby on Monday night.
Thank you, Alan, for joining me. So the Bears played their third pre-season game yesterday against Keighley Cougars. It was a big win for the Cougars, but I'm pretty sure you won't be worried about the result at the end of the day, as it was only a pre-season friendly.
We took a lot of trialists with us that haven't had much experience, but we wanted to see them in a sort of a League One environment against a really good side, and we got that. They have a squad of 29 guys at Keighley. They played 23. Pretty much the majority of their best players were playing in the start of the first half. Coming up the hill at Keighley on that pitch, it was a very heavy pitch. It was a real challenge, and but that's what we wanted. We wanted to have a look at a number of guys in that environment. Some people were a little bit inexperienced, but also got some valuable experience from the game. And we took a couple of chances. We scored a couple of good tries. We challenged a lot better in the second half, and we were a threat when we got in the right shape in the right areas of the field, and I thought we took a lot from it, a lot of positives, and we learned a lot about quite a few players. So it wasn't as strong a side as we put out the week before against London Broncos. And we did that for a reason, and I'm not really that disheartened about it. We're in a good place at the minute, and I think we're just gearing ourselves up ready for the Challenge Cup on the 8th of February.
Yeah, so I heard that there was a couple of really good tries yesterday as well, and good defence at times as well during the game.
Yeah, defensively, we defended back-to-back sets really well. It was just a couple of lapses in concentration, and again, Keighley play a system that was actually quite difficult to defend against. They caught us off guard, and again, it was a little bit of inexperience in defence and not having that sort of cohesion, I suppose, at this time of year. Was difficult for us, but again, it's something you need to go through. It's a learning experience, and we need to be doing that at this time of year and finding those things out and working on the combinations and finding what works best.
And did any players stand out for you yesterday?
I thought a couple of the guys stood out. We've just discovered actually a new young prop, Darius Hamilton. I thought another great game. He's come in a prop and he played in the back row a little bit. I thought Peter Ryan had a good game yesterday. He's come back off a little bit of injury off last year, and he got a solid game under his belt. A couple of the other guys who've been on the fringe before, Zach Fellows scored a good try on the left side, and again Kadeem Williams I thought was really strong defensively. Although he was defending against Jake Webster, which was a real handful for him. And yeah, overall, we tried some combinations. We mixed it up quite a bit, and there was some people out of position at times. But again, you can't have it your own all the way you want it at certain times, and that's the way it'll be in the season.
And I mentioned at the start, it's the third of 3 pre-season games ahead of the start of the season. So I'm guessing you've learned something from all 3 games.
Yeah, a lot. Last week I thought at home with the Butts it was pleasing. The Broncos were very fit and strong, and although they were a young side, they were very well drilled and very professional. And we stayed with them and we defended well, and there was some great positives from that. But I think the prison service game and this game yesterday were very much a test of the new squad, and there's been a lot of new changes, and you have to test out new players. We're not in a position where we've got players on a shelf all the time that we just got a conveyor belt. We have to find new players and we have to develop them, and it's games like this at this time of year where we have to sound them out, and I think we've done that.
Yeah, and I guess looking forward now to the start of the season, these 3 games, you'll have seen which areas you need to work on in the next few weeks.
we're definitely looking to strengthen a couple of areas. We have with the squad we have at the moment, but also with a dual registration, obviously with Dewsbury. We're talking to Dewsbury at the minute, and then a couple of other clubs as well in relation to where we need to strengthen. And certainly from yesterday, it gives us a bit more of an idea of what we think we need to do to slot in a couple of positions. But that's business. That's the way it is. We want to be more competitive this year. We want to get closer to the teams, and everyone's working hard and putting the hours in as well. So we've just got to keep focusing on that, focus on the job at hand, and hopefully that we can we'll make a good start to the season.
Thank you, Alan. I'm really looking forward to the start of the season too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Help out the Bears even more in 2020 by joining the free Our League app. Not only will you get access to great news and content from across Rugby League all week, that's League One, Championship, Super League, the Women's Super League, PDRL and the international scene, you'll also find matches live streamed every weekend, podcasts, competitions, games and more. And even better, you can select the Coventry Bears as your chosen team to proudly show off your support for our club. We'd also really appreciate it if you did select the Bears as your team, as there's a chance that some of our funding could be dependent on how many registered fans we have on our league in the future. So the more the merrier. Join now for free by searching for the Our League app in your app store or by visiting membership.rugby-league.com. So thanks to Alan for joining us and giving us his thoughts on Sunday's game and on pre-season as a whole. So Craig, let's get ready for the quick-fire analysis. Now, for those who don't remember, who didn't join us last week, it's a new style of analysis for this season. We're going to pick a handful of talking points for each match and spend a maximum of 3 minutes on each talking point. So we cover loads of ground, but we don't spend too long doing it. And I will set a timer that will go off when we reach our 3 minutes. So this week, we've picked 4 talking points, and they are: number 1, there's no need to panic. Number 2, let's look at the positives from Sunday. Number 3, the real work actually starts now. And number 4, slightly off topic from Sunday, but the completely imagined Bear Necessities pre-season cup, which we will get to later on. So let's kick off with the fact that we shouldn't panic, and I will start the timer and I will kick this one off. So the timer is started. Let's face it, it was a reserve team for the Bears. It was a bunch of guys, many of whom have not played at this level, and it was a really useful exercise for the coaching staff to test them out in a really tough match environment. And also the Cougars, as I said, were essentially at full strength, and it was one of their players' testimonials, so it was always going to be set up to ensure a home win, really, and you would always expect the Cougars to have really gone for it. Yes, I would have liked the Bears to concede fewer points, but I'm not at all worried. I don't think this is a reflection of the team or the performance we're going to get when the league starts in a few weeks. And it's that old cliche, isn't it? It's pre-season. You should never put too much stock in pre-season, particularly on the results side of thing. And we're going to talk about the positives in a minute. But yeah, I obviously don't like to see the Bears get beaten by that much, but I'm still not panicking, not worried at all, and happy that the coaching staff have had a really good test for some of those untried players to get a real sense of who's willing to stand up and who maybe isn't quite ready to take this step this season. So yeah, that's it from me. Craig, what do you think in terms of not panicking?
I think pre-season really doesn't mean anything, in the same way that you can't get overly excited about a decent win. You shouldn't worry too much about a defeat, particularly against a Keighley side who are more than likely going to be challenging at the top. I think, and I'm going to throw a Liverpool reference in here. I mean, Liverpool lost, I think, three pre-season games before the start of this season. Look at where they are in the league and how well they're doing. It really doesn't mean anything. It's an opportunity to look at players, to test players, look at fringe players, see if they're ready to make the step up. And it's an opportunity to try out different moves, different sets, different bits of defensive work. You know, I think the Bears have had 3 pre-season games, and the coaching staff will have learned something different from every single game. You know, I think Keighley was a really good test. You know, you've got to give the guys a go against a top side and see how they get on. And I'm pretty sure, actually, probably the coaching team will have learned the most from this game rather than the previous two that they won. So, a strike rate of 2 out of 3 wins in pre-season is not bad at all. I think we're going to move on to it in a minute, but there will be some positives to take from what was a tough game, but it will have hardened a few people up as well and made them aware of what it's going to take this season to be as good as they can possibly be.
Perfect. 10 seconds to spare. Great stuff. So, topic 2 then. You mentioned them just now, Craig, those positives from Sunday. So you may as well start this one. I will start the timer now. Off you go on the positives.
Yeah, so as I'm aware, I think both tries were taken really, really well. A couple of young lads, Alan has already mentioned his interview, a couple of young lads stepped up well and looked really good. I think individually there was some good individual defensive performances. I think for me, probably the biggest positive in terms of preparation for the season is that the coaching team at the Bears will now know which areas they potentially need to strengthen between now and the start of the season, which is still 4 weeks away. Mm. So, there's time to put that extra work in on training. There is time to potentially look at dual registration options. There's time to look at loan options, in areas that potentially need strengthening. But I think the squad are looking pretty good. There's been a lot of positives coming out of the camp in terms of how the training has gone. There's a set of values which have been ingrained in the playing group, and I think there is a lot to be positive about. In particular, if you look at all 3 pre-season games as a whole, there was a lot of very good performances within those 3 games.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, I think the fact that we scored a couple of tries on Sunday, and by all accounts from those who were there and saw it firsthand, that we could have had more, but for a quite tough Cougars defence. I think from Sunday's game, I think really great to see Zach Fellows bag a try. He's been around the fringes for a while now, and I think him with a bit of confidence and showing that he can finish is going to provide really good competition for Hayden Freeman and Reece Rance, who we would expect to be the starting wingers, but you want strength in depth and you want competition for those places. I think really good for Leon Harbour to score as well. I mean, he missed all of last season through injury. And he came in with quite a good reputation, quite an exciting prospect, and I thought he was good against the Broncos, and the fact that he's got on the score sheet this time around, again, very excited to see how he gets on this year, and just the fact that like you say, it's going to give the coaching staff so much to learn from. I mean, that when we got that squad list through over the weekend, I sort of did a double take because I didn't really recognise many names on there, and that's because there was quite a few fringe players and sort of trialists, and the fact they've been thrown into that den that is Cougar Park and Cougar Mania, and they've come out of it, with a shed load of experience and loads of things for the coaching staff to work on. I think yeah, lots of positives from that and from pre-season as a whole, as you said. And 5 seconds left, so I'm going to turn it off before we get the alarm sounding at us. So, topic 3 then, the fact that the hard work effectively starts now. Craig, I think you should start this one because I'm going to start the final topic. So I'll set you going on the timer. Let's hear your thoughts on what's left to do between now and the season.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things that I've gathered from observing the pre-season is that one thing that Alan and the rest of the coaching team want to work on is working with the guys, ensuring that there is everyone turns out to training, that everyone works really hard. There's, as I said, there's 3 weeks to a potential Challenge Cup game or a Challenge Cup game, and then the league starts, I think, on the 16th of February. So there is time to work hard and get ready for the start of the season. One thing that the Bears players will need to do, and this has been reinforced with them, is that in order for them to compete with teams in this league, then they need to work harder than everyone else to ensure that they're competitive. They can only get better by training hard and working hard and being together as a group. And, this, I think, is a key 2 to 3 weeks in their development. They'll look at what has happened in the pre-season games.
they'll look, I'm sure, watching videos back, they'll work with players. A few of these players will realise now as well is that it's not just about sort of running hard and tackling hard. You have to work together as a group, and that's one thing that the coaching staff are massively working on.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, it's it's about focus, and it's about really consolidating what has been shown across these 3 matches. And I think, as Alan touched on in his interview with you, Craig, like strengthening in terms of extra personnel where necessary, but actually just coming together as a squad and drawing on that spirit that they showed in particular against the Broncos earlier in the month. In that game especially, they looked fit, they looked disciplined, and there was a lot to build on there. And they've got to take these other experiences from the other games. And we've said it already at the start, but pre-season results, particularly pre-season, counts for nothing. Obviously, the pre-season is a massively useful exercise in terms of getting that game time and trying out some moves and trying out some different combinations and people, but the results are nothing to get het up about. And it's now they've got some material to work from, so get together as a squad, work for each other, commit not just to each other, but commit to the cause in terms of turning up for training and making yourself available for games, and really focus on the challenge ahead. And I think if they do all that, then there's a really good chance of the team hitting the ground running. And I think they're going to be really fit from the start this year, which I'm excited to see, because they showed that against the Broncos. They went with them toe to toe and ended up beating them. So a bit of focus, bit of discipline, and I think we'll be absolutely fine. We've got 2 seconds left, so I'm going to cancel that. Right then, 4th and final topic. This is the fictional Bear Necessities Cup. So I will start this, and I'll start by explaining what I mean. So let's start the timer. So basically, I got jealous this weekend seeing Workington v Whitehaven and Sheffield v Doncaster both attaching a trophy to their traditional pre-season games. And I know that Scholars always get a game against Wigan too, which is a bit of a celebration. So I got thinking, who would we like to see the Bears face every pre-season for a piece of silverware that, let's say, this podcast is going to pretend to sponsor? So I've come up with 2 options. There's an obvious one, which is us playing Leeds in Coventry every year for what I'm going to call the 1913 Cup, which is in honour of that Leeds-Coventry match from 1913, when Leeds beat Coventry by a club record score of 102-0. Obviously not necessarily a score the Bears want to celebrate every year, but if it's a reason to get Leeds down to Coventry every year, then that would be fun. Either that, or I was looking at what sort of other geographical options we've got that are relevant to Coventry, looking through Coventry's twin towns and twin cities, and there's a certain team with a red star as their logo that happen to be based in one of Coventry's twin cities. So yes, I'm conscious that this might actually become a league fixture soon enough, but how about it? A pre-season Twinners Cup between Coventry and Red Star Belgrade. I'd be happy with that. So yeah, Craig, your choice for a pre-season cup for the Bears.
That's a fantastic idea. I mean, it's a real shame for me that, say, the likes of Oxford and Hemel are no longer in the league structure, because they previously were the closest geographically. It would have been good to have a bit of a. I mean, Oxford would have been the obvious choice because the less than an hour's drive really to get there. But I think in terms of what I would like to see is I'd like to see a bit of a Midlands focused thing, and I think maybe possibly not necessarily the Bears first team, but it would be good to have a little mini round robin tournament within the Midlands, maybe involving some of the other Midlands teams as a bit of a warm up before the start of the season. It would give the Bears an opportunity to give some fringe players a run out, some perhaps some people who want to get involved in a community Bears team. And maybe play the likes of Sherwood Wolf Hunt, New Ravens, Nottingham Outlaws, those sorts of teams, and have a bit of a round robin tournament. That would be really good. I mean, obviously, possibly a first choice Bears side would be too strong for the other teams, but it would be good to get some sort of Midlands tournament, maybe even a nines tournament ahead of the start of the season. That would be a good option, I think.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. Great, brilliant. And 7 seconds left. That was stopped the clock on 007 there, just like James Bond. Brilliant, great stuff. Listeners, do let us know if you've got any ideas for what a Bears pre-season trophy thing should look like and who the Bears might want to play. I think we've got some good ideas ideas there. I really like the idea of the Nines tournament, actually. That's one of those things that is growing in popularity, isn't it? Particularly with the World Nines last year, and the potential for there being a sort of Nines fringe tournament in the Commonwealth in Birmingham in a couple of years. So some good stuff there. Excellent. Good work. Make sure you don't miss a single try, tackle, pass, kick or gut-busting run of the Bears 2020 season. Order your season ticket now. Membership includes access to all 10 of our home Betfred League One games this year at the Butts Park Arena, as well as access to our members bar. Season tickets are just £125 for adults, £110 for concessions, £50 for 12 to 16 year olds, while under 12s get in free when accompanied by an adult. And for a limited time, GoCV card holders can purchase a 2020 season ticket for just £105. To bag your season ticket, head to coventrybears.com/membership and we'll see you at the next home game. Come on, Bears! So, before we finish, let's switch back to the Challenge Cup then. So the draw for the third round will be made next Monday, and that's where the Bears and the rest of League One come in. Now, obviously, at this stage, as we sit here recording, round 2 hasn't happened yet, so we don't know who is going to win those matches, and we don't know who will be in the bag alongside the League One teams. But we thought, anyway, to round off the show this week, we'd each say who we'd like to see the Bears drawn against in a sort of fantasy draw-picking world. So, Craig, let's have your choice first.
I think I've said it a couple of times already in the last show and then in this one, but Sherwood Wolfhunt definitely would be my choice. I really want them to get through. I really want a Midlands derby of a kind. That would be fantastic for me. I think though otherwise, I quite like the idea of Dissington, a repeat match against them, potentially away. See what it's like up there. I think I really enjoyed the game against them, and their fans were really genuine nice people. So a repeat against them would be good as well.
Yeah, and perhaps we could get one of their fans on the show to explain quite why they do have a naked bearded man as their club badge, because that is still slightly haunting and very confusing every time I see it. So for me, the cliche when it comes to cup draws is that anyone at home, basically. I'd like to see a home match, but only if we can play it on the Saturday, because I'm not around on the Sunday of third round weekend. So selfishly, if we do get drawn at home, I'd be sad if I have to miss it. As for the opposition, 2 thoughts from me. I think, like you, Sherwood Wolfhunt would be brilliant. Actually, either of those teams, whoever wins that match, I think would be a great matchup for the Bears. I think Sherwood for the Midlands derby point of view, or West Bowling, because it's nice to play one of those names that are sort of renowned throughout the community game, and it'd be an interesting test. My other thought actually is for us to get drawn against the West Wales Raiders, and I'd like to see the Bears beat them and sort of lay any ghosts to rest from that defeat in Llanelli last season. And there's a bit of logic in there in terms of starting the season against a League One team before the league campaign gets up and running proper. To be honest, I don't really mind too much, as long as it's not Doncaster away again, which seems to happen pretty much every year apart from 2018 when we got past the third round. Because it was Doncaster away last year, wasn't it? And the 2 years before that, it was Doncaster away. So as long as it's not that, I don't mind too much. But yeah,
as long as it's not a League One team away, I think a home draw is what you really want from a Challenge Cup. Playing at home, you can beat anyone, but the Bears have had some really tough away games in the third round over the years. I would really like to see a good cup run this year. I think 2 years ago in 2018, it was fantastic to get through to the fifth round and play Widnes. It was really, really enjoyable, and it started off the season really well. It created a bit of a buzz and a feel-good factor around the club. It was brilliant.
Yeah. Well, as it is, we'll have to wait and see what happens in the draw on Monday. But we will be back next week to discuss who the Bears get in that draw. And I think next week feels like a sensible time to bring you our wider season preview as well, because the week after we'll obviously be previewing the Challenge Cup. So we'll put our heads together on that and come up with something useful for you as we head into the new season. But before then, I guess thanks as always for listening. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a single beat or a single episode. And Craig, thanks as always to you for joining me, and I will catch you next week.
Cheers.